Now let's get more on this campaign. Associate Professor Brendon O'Connor from the US Studies Centre joins me now. Much of the reporting in the US has Mitt Romney as the front runner for the Republican Party. Do you agree?
Yes, I think he's come out strongest. He looks made for newscasting or a presidential campaign or a movie. He's very, I think, competent across the issues would be the best way to describe him. Was a good governor of Massachusetts, by all accounts, fairly moderate. That's going to be somewhat of a problem in the Republican field, that it will seem too much to the centre. So this Tea Party person, Michelle Bachmann, is picking up a lot of enthusiasm on the right. And she has come out of the early sort of campaigning as the one sort of surprise, I suppose.
Now, Mitt Romney ran last time round in 2008. I was reading something today where people say that the Republicans like to endorse someone who's already run once and lost, and then they'll give him the Guernsey. But is his strength his economic credentials in this environment in the United States?
Yes, he ran the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics. So he's a Mormon. He's got connections back to Utah. His family originally comes from Michigan, and he's got this Massachusetts background. So he covers a fair wide sort of range of the northern parts of America. His problem will be the South, where Mormonism is not often thought of as somewhat of a brand of Christianity. It's somewhat sort of a religion that's criticised or seen as a bit outside of the sort of realm of Christianity. So that's one of his problems. But on the economic front, I think he's pretty credible, and he'll present as sort of a businessman to Obama as a bit of a novice, I suppose.
Some of the other possible contenders, we've got Sarah Palin, who's scheduled a visit to Iowa, which is a key state in September. Perhaps a hint that she's going to weigh in. What about Texas Governor Rick Perry? They're two possibilities, aren't they?
Rick Perry looks very likely. He looks like he'll be the only real current governor running. That's probably a useful tag to have. I'm still in office. I've been elected twice, which he was. He's had a pretty long governorship since George W. Bush became president, so he's been there since 2001. So he's had a fairly long time in office. Palin, well, I think time's running out for her. I think she's really got to stamp herself as a politician rather than a celebrity or a bit of a media sort of darling or a media someone the media like to bash. And I think her big problem will obviously be being credible on the tough issues, foreign policy issues, the details, say, of this debt debate. How could she get across those? So I think a lot of people have this idea that she lacks substance, that she's not a person of great intellect, and you've got to get in early and prove that that's not the case, not come in at the last minute where it would maybe reinforce the case that you were too scared to be on the debates.
And do you think the economy is where Barack Obama is more vulnerable? Because the interesting thing was, back in 2008, it was the economy that was undermining the Republican campaign because the country was going into a recession on a Republican watch. Barack Obama came and took hold and campaigned strongly on the economy, but it's not going his way this time round.
Yes, I suppose if you've been in for 4 years, they say in America you own it, and Obama has done things to stimulate the economy. He hasn't certainly got his way on everything, with the House Republicans blocking things since 2010. But he can't get unemployment down, and that's the huge problem. I mean, unemployment rate is still above 9% in the United States, and that's just a really significant problem for him. So I think that's what makes someone like Mitt Romney, who's not got a greatly charismatic personality and has his own problems, a possible sort of next president of the United States.
And finally, we're just days away before that US debt deadline. Can you see how the Republicans and Democrats might actually be able to come to agreement and resolve that, and still both sides save face?
The word crisis, I think, can be overused, but this is a crisis. The two sides are fairly far apart. The House Republicans are just getting agreement amongst themselves at the moment, and the Democrats are immediately going to say this isn't good enough, it's going too far to a conservative direction. The President has strangely been on the sidelines, having to see how the Congress slugs it out. As time's ticking away, there's just so much on the table. It's really hard to see how a sensible deal is going to be worked up. So there might be some kind of temporary deal possibly be able to achieve, or maybe in the 11th hour everyone will start seeing sense when the markets start to look bad. But this really is a sort of winding out of hand increasingly this week, and I think there's no obvious solution here. So I think we'll be talking about this next week.
Indeed, I'm sure we will. Brendon O'Connor, thank you very much.
My pleasure.